Today, I'd like to talk about Lindt, the chocolate maker, and the dark chocolate industry as a whole, because this story came across my internet algorithm, whatever. And it's not exactly related to shrinkflation, but it's a good point to let people know how you can never trust a company. Even Lindt, Swedish excellence is just BS. So let's get into this. And I got a little bit extra on here, a little bit of media bias I'd like to show off. But first, let's do this. This is the story. This story came out yesterday. Lindt melted own excellence claim in U.S. lawsuit. In a bid to dodge a U.S. lawsuit, Swiss chocolatier Lindt, and Sprungly, I guess, which is those little whatever, has scuppered its own claims about the excellence of its product, a cornerstone of its marketing strategy. Lindt has unsuccessfully tried to end a class action lawsuit in the United States, launched in February 2023, following an article by a U.S. Consumer Association questioning the presence of heavy metals in dark chocolate bars from several manufacturers, including 2 bars from Lindt. In its defense strategy, the company has dismantled its own promises of quality. The chocolatier's lawyers maintain that the words excellence and expertly crafted with the finest ingredients were unactionable puffery. The court, which dismissed this notion, defined product puffery as exaggerated advertised blustering and boasting upon which no reasonable consumer would rely. The Swiss newspaper Le Temps, whatever, said Lindt was walking a tightrope with this daring defense. Daring defense is funny. I don't know what's up with this newspaper. Lindt's high-profile margins are due to the... this is the important part. Lindt's high profit margins are due to the fact that consumers are willing to pay more for its industrial chocolates because of their quality image. Which is exactly the thing. Like, in my mind, I always thought Lindt was like a higher tier. Not like amazing, but it's like if I'm going to get Lindt chocolate, pay a little bit more for a little bit better. But it turns out that's not true. The court decision said the plaintiffs brought class action against Lindt, alleging that the firm deceptively marketed their dark chocolate bars as expertly crafted and safe, as well as delightful, when the bars in fact contained a significant amount of lead. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because I hadn't actually heard of this, because I'm a dummy. Apparently, dark chocolate has a lot of lead in it, and Lindt is trying to dodge it. And I didn't know that, but we're going to go over here to Consumer Reports and read about this. Now, the first thing I want to say, in case somebody wants to comment and say it's not a big deal, it is. I think pretty much any amount of lead is a big deal in your chocolate, even if technically it's below your daily value if you only eat a piece or whatever. But if you eat a whole bar of Lindt chocolate in one day, that's way more lead than you should ever have. And if you're somebody who eats dark chocolate, I don't know, regularly because of the supposed health benefits that were pushed, then you're definitely fucked up by lead. I mean, there's no way around it. It's not good, and it's basically the whole dark chocolate industry. Cadmium is another one in there, but that one, based on my research, again, I'm not an expert, but based on reading what actual fucking experts say, cadmium is not as bad as lead by a mile. You find cadmium everywhere, and it's not too concerning. It is a little concerning, but not too concerning. But the lead, that's a problem. And I want to get into why there are heavy metals in dark chocolates here. Let's see. What did they say? Okay, now those are the results. I don't want to do those yet. People choose dark chocolate in particular for its potential health benefits, thanks to studies that suggest its rich supply of antioxidants may improve heart health and other conditions, and for its relatively low levels of sugar. In fact, more than half of people in a recent survey from the National Confectioners Association described dark chocolate as a better-for-you candy. And I'll admit, they got me with this too. I believed in it for a long time, but really, is it? I mean, turns out that there are other bad things about it. There's a dark side to this healthier chocolate. Research has found that some dark chocolate bars contain cadmium and lead, 2 heavy metals linked to a host of health problems. The chocolate industry has been grappling with ways to lower these levels. To see how much of a risk these treats pose, Consumer Reports scientists recently measured the amounts of heavy metals in 28 dark chocolate bars. There were cadmium and lead in every single one of them. Consumer Reports tested a mix of brands, including smaller ones and more familiar ones like Dove and Ghirardelli. For 23 of the bars, this is the interesting part, eating just an ounce a day would put an adult over the level that the public health authorities and Consumer Reports experts say may be harmful for at least one of those heavy metals. 5 of the bars were above those levels for both cadmium and lead. That's risky stuff. Obviously, lead is horrible. The danger is greatest for pregnant people and young children, who, guess who's eating the most chocolate? Probably young children. I guess not dark chocolate. So, maybe it's avoiding the children in that respect, because most dark chocolate is advertised towards adults. So I won't blame that one on you. The metals can cause development problems, brain defects. I will blame that on you. But there are risks for people of any age. While most people don't eat chocolate every day, 15% do, according to market research from Mintel. Even if you aren't a frequent consumer, lead and cadmium is a concern. It can be found in many other foods, and small amounts from multiple sources add up. That's why it's important to limit exposure when you can. That's exactly why I had to make this video. Still, you don't need to swear it off entirely. He adds that while most chocolate bars had concerning levels, that shows it's possible for companies to, or 5 of them were relatively low in both. That shows it's possible for companies to make products with lower amounts of heavy metals and for consumers to find safer products that they enjoy. And that's the underlying issue. So we got 5 here. These 5 were the only ones that were under what the recommended level of lead and cadmium is on a daily dosage. Mast, Taza, and surprisingly Ghirardelli. So Ghirardelli is not doing too bad of a job, but when we have high in cadmium, that's where we have Lindt right here. High in lead, we got Lindt again, and high in both, which features Trader Joe's and Lily's, which is very interesting. I used to like Lily's dark chocolate, but they might have given me lead poisoning, I guess. Dark chocolate's reputation as a relatively healthy treat stems mostly from cocoa solids. They're antioxidants, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Dark chocolate tends to be heavier or higher in heavy metals than milk chocolate because of the higher cacao content. There's no official cutoff, but dark chocolate bars are generally at least 65% cacao by weight. To further complicate this issue, lead and cadmium appear to get into cacao in different ways, which means that it requires a different type of fix. Now, this interested me, and this led me down a rabbit hole. I want, if you're with this on me, I want you to follow me, because I have 2 news reports here that I really want to highlight. But the point is, I went through here. What they say is lead gets into cacao beans after they are harvested. They said cadmium comes up from the ground when they plant the soil, but lead seems to get into the cacao after beans are harvested. The researchers found that the metal was typically on the outer shell, not the bean itself. Moreover, lead levels were low after the beans were picked, but increased as beans dried in the sun for days. During that time, lead-filled dust and dirt accumulated on the beans. We collected beans on the ground that were heavily loaded with lead on the outer shell. Because of the different ways that cadmium and lead get into chocolate, it's different things. For lead, this will mean changes in harvesting and manufacturing practices. Such practices could include minimizing soil contact, lying them in the sun, blah, blah, blah. But here's the important part. They're not really doing it. They're not going to actually change their ways. Instead, this is something I really wish somebody would look into. I don't know exactly who wrote this article, because it's the same article, basically, probably AI written now that I think about it, but in 2 different publications that are owned by the same company, Food and Drink and Manufacturing Digital. They both ran the same story, just slightly rewritten. As you can see here, look at these pictures in this, and then go ahead and look at what they have to say is the sources of lead contamination in chocolate: cocoa bean cultivation, harvesting, processing, and transportation, manufacturing practices. They basically did the same thing here: cocoa bean farming, when transported, processed, and factory settings. If you read these, they're identical, basically. There's the same video. This is the part that made me really want to make this video, though. Right after all that, right, they break down Lindt's quality control process. And that's when I realized that this is not a news article. This is a fluff piece that was probably and allegedly paid for by Lindt. That's my guess. I don't know why else you would put out a article like this where you explicitly tackle Lindt's dedication to quality, like, because they introduce it. It's very interesting the way they introduce it and say, yeah, it's concerning. It's concerning. So if somebody Googles dark chocolate lead and they come to food and drink to get reassured, they're going to read, oh, it's concerning, and then they're going to read further and see, oh, Lindt, though, they're dedicated to quality and safety. They do all this other stuff. So moving forward, it might be prudent for Lindt and its peer to expand. But they make sure to put this all in here. Lindt is meticulous in selecting top-grade cocoa beans and partners with countries known for responsible and sustainable cocoa farming. Modern chocolate production facilities carry our comprehensive quality checks, including testing for metals like lead. Oh, now you know what? Now that I read this, I think what happened was they wanted to make an article about this story and they wanted to pump it out. This is probably written by AI. I don't know if Rachel Brown's a real person or Helen Sidney Adams, but it's definitely not both of them that wrote this. But what happened is they got... This is even more sinister than I thought. Because I thought it was kind of just like a paid shill article, but what I think it is Lindt gave them these talking points when they asked for them. Like, they probably wrote a story. They were like, well, let's write a story about Lindt chocolate, but let's get a comment from Lindt. And Lindt said, here, we do all this stuff. We have crazy quality controls. And they just put it in the story without actually double-checking it, investigating it, or changing the fucking wording even. And just went with it. So that's what actually happened here. Now that I'm thinking about it in retrospect, what we actually have here is two publications that are just so lazy and so surface level that they took the Lindt talking points and just threw them in their articles wholesale because there's no actual journalism here. So what I'm learning from this is both Food and Drink Digital and Manufacturing Digital are scumbag companies who should never be trusted. And if you're a BizClick brand, then you should never, ever be trusted. All this stuff, you see all this marketing stuff, I don't care. Because if I see BizClick on any fucking article, I'm out. Because they're clearly bullshit. Food and Drink, oh, here we go. What do we got? Business Chief, Sustainability Magazine. I haven't heard of half of these. Oh, they have AI Magazine. So this is definitely all bullshit. So yeah, there you go. Don't trust anything you read. Always verify and double check. That's the important part. Because I read this story and I don't just say, oh, well, that's interesting. I said, oh, let me read the Consumer Reports article. And then I Googled it again to see what the news was saying. The timing is where it gets interesting, though, because the news came out today or yesterday. That the Lindt lead thing was coming out of Swedish, not Swedish. The newspaper that reported this is Swedish. That's why this gets very claimed to Swiss newspaper NZZ Am Sonntag, whatever the fuck that is. The news just basically recently got to the U.S. news outlets that Lindt did this in their lawsuit. And then immediately after, again, BizClick wrote a nice fluff piece for them by just copy-pasting their stuff. So I hope this haphazard walkthrough of all this stuff makes sense. But the important thing to take away from it is that you're constantly being lied to, and it's very important for you to check your sources and double check things. That's all I want people to do. If you see this headline, even though it is correct, double check it. That's all, because these companies just lie continually every day. Lindt has lied for years. They fooled all of us into thinking, well, not all of us, but at least me and a good amount of people into thinking that their chocolate was of a higher quality, better ingredients, and all that good stuff, when in fact theirs is one of the worst for you in terms of heavy metal lead and cadmium, which is horrifying. So, yeah. And apparently the lead gets on the beans after they dry out, which means it's just a price thing. Like, they probably could. I mean, I don't know where they buy their chocolate. Now we're getting into a whole ethical chocolate situation, but there definitely are ways to make the beans not so full of lead, but they're not doing it. And neither are other companies either, to be fair, but Lindt is getting called out in particular today. because they lost a lawsuit. So that's that. I don't eat any dark chocolate, I guess, unless it's what was the good ones? Unless it's Ghirardelli 72 and 86%, those are kind of okay. Or these smaller brands, Valorna and Mast. I don't even know where you would get those. Orteza, I don't know where you buy those. But yeah, eat those. Maybe some of the higher in cadmium ones might be okay, but no, they're not. Just eat these if you really want dark chocolate, but honestly, you probably shouldn't eat dark chocolate because this is quite disturbing. I mean, honestly, I know that there's amount of lead in food. I get that there's heavy metals in food, but the fact that it's over 100% of the daily value on many items is crazy to me, especially since we all know lead is one of the worst contaminants a human body can endure. Like, if you get lead poisoning, you're done. You know, there's no coming back from it, really. So yeah, that's that. Thank you, Consumer Reports. I've never paid for this. They let me read this article for free, thankfully. A lot of their articles are behind paywalls, but thankfully this one's free. So shout out to Consumer Reports, shout out to Yahoo, not shout out to those other companies reporting on this story and using Lindt's talking points directly without doing any sort of journalism. That shit is fucking annoying and part of the problem. So that's that, and I will see you all next time.